Coming up, the Otter Tail County Sheriff's Office is searching for a shooting suspect. Plus, a Detroit Lakes man has been identified as the victim of a Minneapolis homicide. And President Joe Biden is expected to announce a new gun regulations. Valley News Live at 10 starts right now.
This is Valley News Live at 10.
Tonight, we start with breaking news. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Nashay Taylor. A shooting suspect is on the loose, and the Otter Tail County Sheriff's Office is actively searching to find him. The department says they are looking for this man on your screen. Authorities say they were called around 2:15 this afternoon about a possible shooting in Pelican Rapids. When they arrived, the suspect had fled the scene. Plus, police say the man was last seen traveling in a 2011 black Toyota Tundra with the Minnesota license plate 1092CD. The suspect is believed to be armed and dangerous. If you see him, do not approach. Instead, call 911. Meanwhile, we may be in for a messy week as a potential snowstorm is on track to hit our region. Summer's here now with details. Summer.
Thank you so much, Nashay, and thank you all for joining us tonight on this Sunday. It's been gray and gloomy across the region, and this isn't even part of the storm system that will be developing, looking increasingly likely for some major winter storm potential later on this week. But right now, still seeing those rain showers in Fargo, 36 degrees. Same thing over in Moorhead, and it is gusty out there. Wind is out of the north and gusting to 31 miles per hour. Here's a look at satellite and radar where some areas are transitioning to some snow as expected in the higher elevations in the Sisseton Hills of South Dakota and into parts of northwestern Minnesota from around Fergus Falls up through Bemidji. As for rain today, so far the areas that are shaded in yellow have seen about an inch. That's radar estimated precipitation. A little less in Fargo, right around a half an inch. Snow is still on the way for parts of northwestern Minnesota, generally 1 to 2 inches. We could see isolated pockets of 2 to 3. Then the storm begins Tuesday through Friday. Significant winter storm is likely. We could see 18 or more inches of accumulation. So Nashay, this is a forecast you don't want to miss. I'll have your hour by hour details, how much wind we could see, and temperatures, all the good stuff coming up in a little bit.
I don't know about good, but okay, we'll take it.
Just trying, you know.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much, Summer. And new information tonight. The 67-year-old man who died in an ATV crash in Lisbon yesterday has been identified. Authorities say the deceased is William Funk of Lisbon. Funk was traveling in an ATV while attempting to cross the intersection of 132nd Avenue Southeast and Highway 27 when the vehicle was struck by an SUV. The driver of the SUV is identified as 29-year-old Ryan Reinke, and 31-year-old Carla Hainsworth was a passenger in that vehicle. Both were treated at a local hospital. Their injuries are still unknown at this time. Also new tonight at 10, a Detroit Lakes man has now been identified as the victim of a homicide that took place on Wednesday night in Minneapolis. Yesterday, the Hennepin County Medical Examiner identified the man as 34-year-old Nate Banks of Detroit Lakes. Authorities say the shooting happened around 8:30 p.m. at an apartment on the 2400 block of 17th Avenue South in Minneapolis. Banks died on the scene from gunshot wounds, and another female victim was hospitalized with life-threatening injuries. Banks's death is being ruled a homicide. Police say they are attempting to figure out if the victims were known to each other. So far, no arrests have been made. A string of deadly gun violence incidents took place across the nation this weekend. Cole Higgins has the latest on these grueling tragedies.
These guns are too easy to build, too hard to trace, and too dangerous to be on our streets. Just ask the family of that beautiful 16-year-old who was killed in the Bronx.
2 days after a 16-year-old girl was shot and killed while walking home from school in the Bronx, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer of New York is calling on the federal government to deal with what he calls an explosion in unregulated weapons. Police say the 17-year-old who was arrested Saturday for the shooting may have been using a ghost gun.
A child that has zero police contact at all, and he goes from smoking marijuana to killing somebody.
In Grantville, Georgia, the State Bureau of Investigation is still working to find out who brutally murdered the owner of a gun range, his wife, and their teenage grandson this weekend.
The store's been here for a long time. The range has been here for a long time. And there's people from all around come shoot here. I mean, it's just not people from Grantville.
Investigators say as many as 40 guns and the range's surveillance camera and recorder were taken from the scene. In Cedar Rapids, Iowa, 2 people are dead and at least 10 others injured after an early Sunday morning shooting at a nightclub. And in Indianapolis, police say a fight at a birthday party led to another deadly shooting. 1 person is dead and 5 others wounded. I'm Cole Higgins reporting.
President Joe Biden is expected to announce new regulations for so-called ghost guns. Ghost guns are unregulated, untraceable weapons made from kits. As soon as tomorrow, Biden is expected to implement a new rule that would classify the components used to make them as firearms. Doing so would close a critical gap in the government's ability to track these types of guns. The rule would also require manufacturers who sell parts to assemble ghost guns to be licensed and to run background checks on potential purchasers. Meanwhile, the rapid spread of COVID continues to strike Washington. 67 people tested positive for COVID-19 after attending last weekend's Gridiron Dinner, which is an event that traditionally begins the White House Correspondents' Dinner season. Not all of the 67 reported cases are new cases from the dinner event, as some are belated from earlier testing in the week. Dr. Anthony Fauci says COVID-19 protocols around President Biden are strong. That's after the dozens of lawmakers and members of Biden's cabinet tested positive this week. Dr. Fauci said today that while Biden is protected, there are still risks of infection.
The protocols to protect the president are pretty strong. The president is vaccinated. He's doubly boosted. He got his 4th shot of an mRNA. When we, people like myself and my colleagues, are in the room with him closely for a considerable period of time, half an hour, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, all of us need to be tested. Yes, he is mingling there, but we feel that the protocols around the president are sufficient to protect him. And as Jen said, the fact is he could get infected. We hope he doesn't.
Going above and beyond the call of duty is something many veterans volunteer for when they sign up for the armed services. Now volunteers from the Western North Dakota Honor Flight are recognizing our veterans for their service with a trip to the nation's capital. Erica Craven has more.
93 veterans from nearly every North Dakota community headed to Washington, D.C. Sunday morning. They're seeing the nation's memorials built in their honor, many for the first time.
What I seen today, goes way back in history, which I probably never would have seen if I would have not come today.
They arrived at the Baltimore-Washington airport with a warm welcome, a firefighter salute, and a thank you from the public. For the veterans, this trip is more than special.
This is my oldest brother. He served during the Korean War. So we're kind of trying to find some names on the wall tomorrow when we get there. And also I had a couple uncles serve in World War II. So we'll be looking over those memorial walls quite a bit tomorrow.
The ceremony that you are about to witness is the changing of the guard.
The men watched the changing of the guard at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier at Arlington National Cemetery.
That was quite, my son mentioned about it. He said it's very interesting to watch it.
The Army began guarding the tomb in 1926, and by 1937, their presence at the hallowed space was 24/7.
The main thing I guess I like is the 21 steps that the gentlemen take, signify being the 21 gun salute that we do when we have our military funerals at home.
The honor flight started in 2005 with just 2 veterans. Since then, they have flown over 250,000. More than 200 are on the waiting list for future flights. In Washington, D.C., Erica Craven reporting.
Tomorrow, the veterans will visit the National Archives and the Lincoln, Korean, Vietnam, and World War II memorials. Later on Valley News Live at 10, a young woman shares her journey of living with a rare brain tumor.
And tomorrow is kind of the calm before the storm, although we could potentially hear a few rumbles of thunder in the far southern valley. Temperatures on the mild side. But then that major winter storm is on par for the middle of the week. Wednesday, Thursday, first alert weather days, hour by hour details on an early look at the snowfall potential. That's coming up after the break.